Hello, friends. Getting everything all set up. Make sure phone is plugged in. It should be. All right, let's open up Facebook. Oh, we're battling different battery levels tonight. That's okay. Just gotta adjust our lights. Grab my tweezers. And we are just about ready. Let's see what we got. All right, if you are stopping by, drop a quick comment just to say hello. Hello, Bo. I see Heather is watching as well. Hello. Ooh, it's been a day, y'all. I'm excited to be home, to be crafting. Just one of those sort of Wednesdays. Oh, and I just realized that I committed myself to not using a water bath, but using a paste on a stencil tonight. So we will see how that goes. So, all right, I keep on saying so. Let's hopefully that's the last one. Tonight I am going to be creating a card for the April challenge of the month, Kindred challenge, whatever we want to call them. And I wanted to take advantage of the theme because it's honestly one of my favorite crafting themes ever. And that is to dust off a old stamp set that you haven't used and put it to use. So for tonight's Facebook Live, I'm going to be using the Bayou Buddy stamp set. Have not used it before. I have used its coordinating set, Mardi Gras Majesty. I haven't used the Mardi Gras couple set yet, but this one is older, so I thought it fit the theme better. We are also going to be using the new Mardi Gras Royalty. It's not Gras, Mardi Gras. You don't have to pronounce the S. Paper, and I want to play around heavily with pattern paper for this project. And I have a fun way to create a card layout that utilizes a good chunk of paper, but different patterns. So I thought that would be fun as well. So Bo says this week is so long. It really is. I'm ready for a nap, let me tell you. I'm ready for a nap and a couple days off. So let's get into some crafting. I am going to start with not coloring yet because I don't actually have a lot of coloring tonight, which is a nice change. Just because sometimes I like to take a break from coloring. I am going to be ink blending this little panel, and I think I want to grab, let me see. I think I want to grab one of my blending panels. There's just one of those sticky palettes to help keep your image in place. So we're going to just put this on the panel. And I know there's a handful of companies right now who have sticky pads like this. I'm using one from Picket Fence Studios. And we're going to be using some old paper, Distress Oxide ink. And I'm just going to completely cover this. I love that these sticky pads, or this is called a paper inking palette. I love that it just keeps your paper in place, which is sometimes like half the battle when it comes to ink blending, because you don't want your panel moving around. And now moving on to some Bundle Sage, I was trying to choose some froggy colors, because I've noticed when you're working with even like smaller die cuts and you're trying to ink blend them, it's really easy to like cause them to bend when you're ink blending, just because you're making some circular or jagged motions with your hand, and it causes that paper to kind of get caught underneath. All right. Awesome. So let's go ahead. I can put these off to the side. We will do a little bit of bleaching with some water. some nice spots going. Let's sit for a second. While it's sitting, I'm going to get my splatter box and get my pixie spray ready. I'm going to check comments in just a second. Let's see. Good evening, Gwen. Hope you're having a good night. All right, I'm going to now, because I've let the water sit for maybe about 20, 30 seconds, I'm going to take a craft microfiber towel and just get those nice bleach spots. So we've got those. You can see those lightened spots. I love getting that for my project. Clean this off real quickly. Sorry for the noise. And then let's go ahead and put this away. I've been getting in the habit more with my die cuts of using these sticky mats. I love how I'm sitting here and I'm calling them sticky mats, and that's not what people call them. This is, like I said, this is called a paper inking palette. What else are they called? They're also called grip mats. Sticky mats and grip mats, those both work for me. So, all right. Now let's go ahead. I am going to pull out the Country Quilt Stencil, which is one I have not reached for in a hot minute. Fun fact trivia about this Country Quilt Stencil. If you're familiar with Jennifer McGuire, a couple of years ago, she usually does this, like my favorite crafty things sort of lineup. I think she does it around like the end of each year. She actually included the stencil in, I want to say, her 2019 lineup. So this stencil, this is the Country Quilt Stencil. It's available now in the store, of course. Fun little trivia. Sometimes it just, those little tidbits pop into my head. So I'm going to use some pixie spray. I always like to use pixie spray when I am working with some sort of a paste. And this bottle of pixie spray is almost done. It's very frustrating because I can feel some in the bottom, but it just doesn't want to come out. So there we go. This pixie spray is going to be about done. I think I need to upgrade to a new bottle. All right, just let that sit for a second. And then let's get a piece of paper out. I like to play with just printer paper when I work with pastes because it helps keeps all of my little bits and bobs in place. Actually, what I can also do, let's do some bundled sage and some water. And let's pick it up with just a watercolor brush and get some splatter. That always adds some fun texture and some fun effects. So we'll set that aside to dry. I've also found that oxides splatter very nicely. I almost like using oxides better than distressings. Oxides also seem to hold their shape when they're seeping into the paper. Sometimes I've used like dye inks and they end up kind of like branching out a little bit, and I don't love how it looks all the time. But that also depends on the sort of paper that you're using. Typically more porous papers, it kind of branches and arms out a little bit. All right, let's see. That's got to dry. Let me grab my heat tool. I agree, Flowers. Splattering is a really easy way to add some fun effects to your project. And it's really easy to do. Once you get over the fear of not having control of exactly where it goes, you realize it's not that difficult. Yes, you're not going to get exact placement, but you don't really think about exact placement. And I just do it everywhere, you know? All right, let's see. I also love using that heat tool as well. That's not an embossing tool. It's a heat tool by Ranger. And it's just used to like apply a low amount of heat to your project to help things set. And I like that. All right, let me try to get this centered. I think I try to center my stenciling as best as I can. And then I'm gonna pull in, I've got some Later Gator Lunar Paste. I thought that this was a very froggy sort of color. Use a spatula and just sort of spread it. And I'm hopeful that this will dry by the time that I need it later. All right, let's see. This is also a new tool to me too. These are like tonic spatulas. I wanted to get some higher quality spatulas for when I'm using pastes. I don't know. Sometimes I just get these ideas. All right, so let's see. Let's put the Later Gainer Lunar Paste away. We're also going to grab some baby wipes. Clean this off really. Whoop. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Now, I want to talk about why I like using pixie spray or a low-tack spray. If you've worked with pastes over stencils before, I don't know if you're familiar, but sometimes those pastes, if your stencil isn't firmly against your paper, the paste can kind of seep under the stencil and then it kind of smushes out a little bit and you don't get a super crisp design. I like using pixie sprays because it helps eliminate that from happening. So let me show you. So I'm going to go ahead, just reveal my design. I've got nice, crisp, stenciled areas. I'll bring it up nice and close to the camera for you. No smushing. It's exactly how I want it to turn out. The only slight negative, and it doesn't bother me, but some people don't like it, pixie spray does leave a lightly sticky residue onto your stencil. It doesn't bother me at all because actually in the future, it helps me kind of position my stencil because I've got a little bit of a residue. Some people don't like that. Some people want that entirely gone. It doesn't bother me. I'm sure there are ways that you can remove it. I don't know if there's ways that you can remove it that don't put the quality of your stencil at risk. But to me, it's not really a big deal at all. So that's why I use it. So, all right, let's see. No matter the tool, I make a mess with paste. Christian, they're just, the name itself is just like a paste. It's just meant to be messy. But this one, I like stencils like this because it's more the space of what the stencil design takes up is less than like the open areas. And that to me typically means that like you don't have to worry about the design sort of bending or warping because of thin lines. So I love just solid stencil designs like this. They really sort of make my crafting life easy. So I'm happy to use this one tonight. All right, let's make sure we're working with a dry surface. Okay. And, I say we get into a little bit of coloring. So for tonight's project, we're going to call him the male frog, but we're also going to be using, I've got the lady frog and I have the firefly colored up as well. We're going to add them onto the project, but this is the image that we're going to color up. So let's see. We're going to start with zooming in just a tad. Okay. There we go. Okay, we're going to start with some YG97, and I'm just going to kind of go in, add it where I think shadow would go. And this is a very sort of brownish green, very dark. We're definitely going to lighten this up a little bit, but he's definitely a darker amphibian, and he's a different color than his female counterpart. So we're going to kind of play with color a little bit. I also love that they have these like little nose bumps and like, yes, frogs have noses, but it's like, I don't know. I just think it's so adorable. All right, let's go on to some YG95. I'm just going to start lightening it up, making him a little bit more green. I'm kind of excited tonight that this is the only image we're coloring up because for me, that means not a lot of time coloring, which some nights I'm more in the mood to color than others. Gasp, I know. But, all right, we've got that. What was the next color I wanted to use? YG03, was it? Is that what I wanted to use next? I think so. Yeah, we're going to do some YG03 and just really get some more vibrant green in there for him. I don't feel like this was what I had originally pulled for, though. So I may have to go in and swap this, because now this is a little too green for me. We'll figure it out. I thought I had set aside all the correct greens, and I guess I didn't. Yeah, we're gonna make him a little earthier. That's okay. This is just round one of the coloring. Got a lot more to go. He's actually, in my opinion, I like his coloring. Maybe I'll keep it. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe my mind is just playing tricks on me with color. Hey, that could happen. I just need to be a little heavier handed. Let's go around over the bump. Thank y'all for listening to me talk to myself. This is like always my staple of a Facebook Live. And this isn't like an issue of quality with Facebook Lives, but I remember if I ever have someone reaching out to me being like, how do you do Facebook Lives? Like, you're just kind of like sitting there, because it's different than a video. And I'm like, I just kind of talk to myself and like narrate my process. Like, if you were just going to talk to yourself about what you're doing, and then if somebody else wants to contribute, they contribute. And to me, that is a Justin Facebook Live. Y'all are probably sitting here like, yeah, we know you talk to yourself. We're just along for the ride. And to that I say thank you. All right, let's finish up with YG03. He's an interesting green. But he's getting more earthier with the second layer of colors. So I'm liking this a lot. It's kind of playing around with the browns and the greens together. They're all yellow greens, of course, but just kind of playing around with what goes with each other. They don't have to like seamlessly blend into each other either. Sometimes too, I think the smaller images can be a little trickier to color up than the bigger ones, because you're trying to get all that shading in, but you're also trying to make it look clean. And I feel like sometimes you got to worry about things getting muddier as you're adding a lot of colors into a small space. So, all right, let's do some YG63 for his chest area. And YG61, which is so significantly lighter. I will check comments in a second. I promise. We'll do it after this green. Oh, I like how those work together. It makes his chest area just a little lighter than the rest of his body. Also, you're probably hearing the birds chirp. We haven't turned the air conditioner on at my house yet. Totally fine. Not really AC weather, in my opinion, but we're getting to that temperature where if you're not running your AC, your home is getting just a tinge warm, and it's like that uncirculated air warm. So I decided to open up the window just to get a little bit of fresh air in my crafting den. I have a den. That's where I call my craft studio. It's our den. All right, let's see. Let's check comments. do you use the Pixie Spray each time? Bo, you don't have to. I'm going to say no, because I wouldn't say I use it each time, but whenever I feel like I could use a little bit more tack after I have applied it previously, then I will apply it. It just sort of depends. The other thing too is like, when I'm using my stencils, like sometimes okay, my country quilt stencil, for example, maybe the next time I use this, I'm not going to use, maybe the next 2-3 times I'm going to use this, it's not going to be with a paste, but then maybe after I need, whenever I need it for a paste again, I might find that it loses a little bit of stickiness. And see, like, as you can see, there's like definitely a tack to it. So it gives you an idea of like what's going on, like why it kind of fuses itself to your paper, which is why I like it. And this will stay for a good chunk of time, but if you feel like it's not tacking very well, I would reapply the Pixie Spray. All right, what are we doing next? We're gonna do some RV34 for his mouth. This is RV32, just in the corners. My Copic marker combination for mouths has always been, for like the inside of your mouth flesh, I've always done RV34, RV32, and then if I need a third color, I will do RV10. I use the RV10 a lot, but it's usually on bigger images. He's small enough that you don't really need it. And let's do his teeth. We're going to do C4. I mean, this frog's a prince. He's got to have sparkly whites, you know? Do C2. And C00. Just to kind of give a little bit of shading to his teeth without making them look super gray. All right, now we're also going to take that YG97 and I am just going to add some spots. I always like to, whenever I'm coloring up something that is a critter that has scales or a skin, when it's not fur, usually not mammals. It's usually when it's a reptile or a fish. I like to add little specks because I feel like it plays well with the type of texture of the skin or I guess their body. So I'm just adding a couple little specks in. I like to go in with my darkest marker first, and then sometimes I'll go in with my next darkest. It's like a little lighter than the one that was first applied. And then we'll go in a second and apply some gel pen. And that really sort of livens them up. So let's go grab my white gel pen. I use the Sakura Jelly Roll number 10 pens the most. I don't like doing a lot of white dots. You just need a couple. Don't go overboard because otherwise it looks like they've got white chicken pox. But just kind of like a couple just to kind of highlight the spots. So like, that's good. All right, so we've got him all spotted up. Let's go in. I also want to add some dots. I've already done some green dots, but I want to add some white dots to the lady frog. Just like that. Okay. He's cute. She's cute too, of course. He's just a really good green color, so I love that. He turned out really awesome. Okay, we're gonna let them dry for a second. How are we doing with this? I don't want to touch it. I'm looking at my little die cut circle. This is the Card Basics. This is the small circle from the Card Basics, by the way, that I used for that. We're gonna set him aside to dry for a second, just so I don't smudge any of my gel pen accents. And let's work on the background of our card. So I had this idea. Bear with me. So I die cut the stitched square from the Card Basics set, and it doesn't matter. It's an ugly brown color that, not ugly, it's just not a brown that I would reach for often. But I'm going to cover it up. So what I've done, this is the large stitched rectangle from the Card Basics set, and it cuts out to 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I've also taken this like 8-point star pattern and this striped pattern included in the Mardi Gras couple paper. They've got really nice purple patterns on the back of them, but we're not going to be using them. And I am going to cut each of these panels in 4ths. So let's see. I'm going to take this panel, the striped panel. Let me see. Zoom out a little bit. And we're going to cut this in 2-inch portions. And then they should be the same. Yep. And then we're going to cut it. So if it's 5 1/4, they should be by 2 5/8, I believe is how I need it to be. So 2, see, we're mathing today. Would your high school math teacher say this is algebra? Stay tuned. All right, so we're going to cut that. So I've got 4 equal sizes. And then I'm going to take this pattern and I'm going to do the same thing. So we're going to cut it on the 2-inch mark on the short end. Line these up. And then we're going to 2 5/8 on the long. Okay. Awesome. And I'm going to have 2 pieces left over. Totally okay. Use them for a future card. Do whatever you need to. So let's go in. I am going to take one of the 8-point star patterns rectangles, and I am just going to put it in one corner. Just like that. Make sure that it fits nicely. It does. All right, now let's go in and do another corner. And then this one, I can just kind of, just like that. Kind of push it into place. And if it's not perfect, don't worry. I have an idea. So I'm going to have to kind of trim the edges a little bit. And that's okay. We're eyeballing. It's not going to be perfect. All right, now we're going to take another 8-point star pattern. We're going to kind of line it all up. Oh, Justin must have mismeasured. Because that's a little further over. That's okay. I'm not worried. I'll make it work. And then... All right. So we're going to just do that. And then put this in right there. Not super pretty right now, but we're going to separate these and hide all of the seams. So just stick with me, I promise. We're going to make it nice and pretty. I don't know why I must have mismeasured. I will still make it work. I don't know what I did. I'll figure it out. Okay, so I trim my edges. Next, what I'm going to go ahead and do, I've got some strips of paper that we're going to play with. And we are going to put these to kind of divide each of these segments. So let's use our glass mat. Perfect. I should just be able to sort of put that right there. Kind of start segmenting the card a little bit. Awesome. And then, let's see, this should be, I did pretty good. I don't know what I did with my measurements, but now we're going to go in and put down some glue right there. And then I have a second strip, and I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. And we're going to go and segment this area. And then let me flip it over and measure it all out. And segment this area. My only thing is I got to try to line up this as best as possible. Just as best as possible. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But now we've cleaned up all of those edges that it looks like 4 separate areas. We're not done though. So I'm going to trim these off. Just like that. And then I am going to grab the same green, but it's trimmed down to be just a little bigger than this frame. And it's going to add a nice sort of border around it. It's almost going to give us the effect that this is almost a die cut with like inlets, but it's not. So, so just kind of nudge this into place. Now you're hearing dogs barking in my neighborhood. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry about that. All right. And then I can go ahead with this whole panel and adhere it to a card base. So we covered up all of those seams of where all the pattern paper squares meet and kind of just created our own little self-made grid. There are a lot of different die cuts that you can purchase out on the market that do a very nice clean job of this for you, or of like similar designs with like nice cover plate designs, and it takes all the measurement guesswork out of it. And honestly, that's a lovely thing in this world, that there's the option that if you don't want to have to measure, you don't have to. But there are simple designs that you could find ways to measure yourself and still get very nice effects. They might not be perfect, but a handmade card, remember this, a handmade card is never and always perfect. In the sense of perfection, it's never going to be all the measurements perfect. It's never going to be without mistake, but it's always going to be perfect because you made it. And anybody should be happy to receive a handmade card. So you remember that. I got a little bit of glue over there. What the heck? Okay, so there we go. We've got our nice little background. Let's see if I'm missing any comments. Not too many. Oh, Gwen, thank you so very much. Mismeasuring always happens. And you know what? I just love being able to like do a live with you guys and show like, okay, on the moment, how can I pivot and still make this work? Because it's still perfect. Oh, so glad that you're here, Heidi. Glad that you're joining us, and I'm glad you got home from work and can start enjoying your evening, hopefully. All right, let's cut out our little frog. And also, once my live is done, I have to figure out what's for dinner tonight. We have like... me and my husband have talked about, are we going to get takeout? Are we going to go to a sit-down restaurant? When it gets to a certain point in the evening, I feel like my age does not want me to go to a sit-down restaurant. It's like, no, just sit home and watch something nice on TV. But then also, too, you always get the most fresh of foods when you go and you sit down and eat it. So we'll see. Also, I don't want any judgment when I say this next statement because I have no shame in this. We are a big, like, not big, but we are fans of Subway sandwiches in our house. And everyone's got their preferences, I know. But what I stand behind is there is not a quick service sandwich shop that has the quantity of toppings that Subway does. And I don't have an issue with Subway bread. I never go for like the simple one. I always go for like the Italian herbs and cheese. And I enjoy it. We have coupons for Subway right now for like BOGO footlong subs. And that was one of our options tonight. But I don't know if I'm feeling like lunch meat right now for dinner. Oh, these are not the right scissors. That's why I'm having issues with cutting. But it still looks decent. Yeah, I accidentally used these scissors to cut the wrong thing and it ruined them. So I just use them for foam tape now. All right. Takeout does have less people. Absolutely. All right, so this is what we're going to do. I want to start kind of mapping out our project because we don't have too much left to do. I use the largest stitch circle that's included in the Card Basics stamp set. And this is just some yellow watercolor paper that I had in my stash that I had used previously. And I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and just reach for it. Let's make sure. Is this dry? Oh, I don't know if this is dry. It's not. Oh no. I wonder if I could. I don't think heating it up is going to help. Oh boy. I almost just swore too. We're not going to do that. All right, let's heat it to see if that helps. I almost just swore on camera. Oh boy. That's okay. We're going to hope that heating it up helps dry it out a little bit. I would like to think that it will, but I don't really know. Sometimes I feel like heating up a paste would make it more goopy. See how that does. It is still just a little tacky, but it's not the end of the world. All right, I think it's serviceable. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna glue this down. We're gonna hope Justin's not about to make a mess and ruin things, but worse has happened in this studio. I'm touching it in the spaces where there is no paste. Oh my goodness. Justin, what are you doing? Yeah, that's fine. All right, can I push this down like this? Oh yeah, I can do that. All right, we're gonna push this down. Awesome. Let's see, we're gonna do it like this. We're going to do it in the center of the card. I love that little metallic pop from the lunar paste. It just works so nicely. All right, and then we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do it like this. Just kind of lay it out so everything looks nice and even. All right, just apply some pressure, and then we're gonna have just our sentiment strip with both of the frogs sitting on top of it, and our little firefly guy, and then we'll do some embellishments. All right, so where did I put? Here we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on my sentiment, which is going to be very easy. So we're just going to go ahead and let's put all of our little critters off to the side. We're going to grab our Misty And I'm going to use each of my magnets to kind of hold down these corners. Just like this. All right, perfect. And then I'm going to grab my Bayou Buddy stamp set, which has decided to disappear for a hot second. I want to use the stamp set that says, or the stamp sentiment that says pucker up, because I think it's adorable and it's nice and big, so it should emboss very nicely. And we're going to use it with some Snowfall embossing powder, which of course is my go-to. Maybe one day I'll do a Facebook Live with y'all about my staple Kindred products that I always use. Okay. No. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. Use my anti-static tool. Sorry about that. Use my embossing ink pad. Another one of my staples. I think that looks good. Okay, let's go in. I'm going to use my tweezers. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper, and I'm going to grab my Snowfall embossing powder. And I'm using my non-dominant hand, don't ask me why. Awesome. I've been seeing that Bo has been using in his lives his disposable hot dog holders for embossing, and I'm like, I might need to order me some of those. So you might be seeing those on a future Facebook Live because I think they're genius. Awesome. No, don't do that. All right, let's just do a brief little bout of cleanup. Oh, Debbie, thanks so much for stopping by. You can always catch the live from the beginning when I post the replay later if there's anything that you missed, but I'll go over everything towards the end. Hope you're having a good night. All right, so now let's wipe off that powder from our sentiment strip. I love how that looks. And I love the brown. You guys are going to be like, you just called this ugly brown a couple minutes ago. Yes, I did do that, didn't I? But I like it in the sense of like just a small pop of it. So let's see. So now what I want to go ahead and do is I want to grab the foam tape that I didn't bring over to my crafting space. So we're going to get that. And we're just going to start cutting some pieces. So let's do, I'm just going to put, to start with, these just some little anchor pieces to help hold our critters. We're gonna do, let's see, he's gonna go like right here, and she's gonna go, oh, I think that's so cute. They're so sweet. Just these two little froggy prutos, how do you call them? All right, so we're gonna go, we've got that, so I can add a couple more pieces to start putting them together. This is not usually how I like to add my foam tape, but when I'm making multiple pieces into one unit, I think it works nicely because it just kind of helps hold everything together. It's kind of a little backwards, but it works. It's a little messier than I like too, but it works. I know I keep saying, but it works. It does work. It's just not my, like, ideal. Okay. So we're going to go, let's see, do we want them just kind of, I kind of want them like, I want the frogs in the center, but not necessarily the sentiment. And this foam tape is going to add a nice bit of lift to this unit. I craft with foam tape all the time. Every single project that I make, I'm going to say 99% of the projects I make incorporate an element with foam tape. It's very rare that I make something so like super flat unless I'm doing like just stamping, which is not really something that happens with Kindred projects. It's not something I go for. Not saying you can't, just saying I don't. So let's see. I also had a little mistake right there that I'm going to cover up. So let's see. Did I bring over my T-ruler? Because I meant to. There we go. Let's go in. Just kind of add them right there. Just that pucker up. And then we're going to add our little firefly in right up there, but we got to foam tape him too. So, and then we're going to add some embellishments and call it a day. He's going to need some little pieces though. I left his areas when I was fussy cutting it. I really sort of went bigger than I normally do for like the white border, because his antennas are just so thin that I wanted to make sure I didn't have any issues. Let's see, let's check some comments. When I talk to myself, I talk in cursive. Oh, that's funny. That is funny, Christian. Oh, Gwen, you're so cute. You're so sweet. Thank you for thinking that they're so cute together. I agree. I love these little frogs. And it's like, I can't believe I've never used this stamp set before. I'm glad I am tonight. I was very proud as I was going through the website earlier when I was looking at older sets, specifically ones that are currently in stock. I have used most of them. I can just like one little bit to go. Now I'm working with two smaller pieces with my big old fingers. That's okay. I'm gonna get it right there. Awesome. I've also been kicking around the idea of doing like personal Facebook Lives just over on my own Facebook page or YouTube channel. I don't know. Maybe you'll see me pop up there sometime soon. All right. So we're just going to do a little lightning bug right here. And let's add in a couple sequins. I really love this layout. I think it ended up working out really nicely for us. And just incorporates all of these nice pattern papers. I'm going to grab some sequins. I've got this green mix that's from a retired blend. Let's see. I just want to add a couple, and it's got blues and yellows, and I just want the greens and the yellows, I think. Just add a couple. Let's see. No, I don't want you. You're blue. And I thought yellow works well because our little firefly's got a little yellow butt. And we're using some yellow greens, and I use that little yellow watercolor piece, so. Well, maybe we need a little bit more sequin. there. And there. Doing the yellow one right here. I like to work in odd numbers when I can. And maybe a little green one. A little green one. Come here. Oh, now we got jumpers. See, it would make sense if I would reach for my picking tool. Maybe that's what we'll do. Why would we make things easier, Justin? That doesn't make sense. Okay. No, you got blue on it still. What the heck, man? All right. Like that. That is pretty perfect, honestly. Okay. We're not going to add too many more sequins. We don't need it. I say that and I'm like, more? Okay. We are good. Let's check comments really quick. Yes, Heidi, it's a precision glue press. I highly recommend it. Okay, let's talk tools for a second, because it's really easy for us to get like kind of wound up and caught in like the I need to have this sort of phase. And we buy tools and we love them, but we don't use them that often. You know, they're not things that become mainstays in our craft space. My glue press I have used on every single project. And I want to say the retail value is like $35. That is a great price point for something that you are going to use all the time. I highly recommend it. If you can snag it, I feel like we are getting to a point. They used to be a really, really hot commodity that like once they went in stock somewhere, they would sell out right away. I feel like I've been seeing them stick around for longer. So you should be able to snag one pretty quickly. I can also link it in my blog post later. I'm sure you can find it somewhere though. So no worries about that. It is a fantastic tool. Once you learn how to use it, it works really nicely. I love it. So I highly, highly recommend it, Heidi. All right, let's check. Oh, you guys are so sweet. So many kind words. Patsy, I cut my grass yesterday, so we're like on the same wavelength. Oh, thank you so much, Gwen. You're always so kind and encouraging. All right, let's talk about what we did. So we made a card tonight for the April challenge theme, which I believe is called Spring Cleaning, and you're supposed to use a stamp set that you've never touched before. Ideally an older one. It also, part of the theme is, if you would like, as a bonus challenge to yourself, is to use a technique you may not always use or one that you haven't done in a while. I rarely make backgrounds with patterned paper like this, especially where I like cut them apart myself and piece them together. So I'm going to consider that a double win, because I also use the Bayou Buddy set, which is where our 3 characters came from, to put this little card together. The paper that we use comes from the Mardi Gras Couple stamp set. Is it Mardi Gras Couple? No, it's called Mardi Gras Royalty. And then we also used the Country Quilt stencil as part of our little background piece that we had ink blended, and then I used some lunar paste with. I also die cut my circles using the Card Basics stamp set. Then finally, I used the Sentiment Banner stamp set, die set, Sentiment Banner die set, along with the Snowfall embossing powder and embossing ink pad to make our little sentiment for our little frogs to sit on. It almost looks like they're sitting on a log, doesn't it? Maybe that was intentional. Maybe it wasn't at all. But we're going to say it was. So thank you guys all so very much for stopping by for tonight's Facebook Live. I hope this shows you that you don't have to always go all out and make super big dramatic backgrounds for your cards. You don't have to always be creating a scene. You don't always have to be using a bunch of different die cut and ink blended elements. Sometimes you can just use the pattern paper that you have on hand and find some creative ways to cut it apart and put it back together to make a background. And that's what we did tonight. And I love how it turned out. I am going to be back later on this month. I don't remember the specific date, but I want to say the last Saturday of the month will be my second Facebook Live for April. I'm still feeling kind of villainous. I'm sorry. I couldn't use it if I was going to do a challenge Facebook Live, because I am pretty certain that I've used all the stamp sets that the villains are included with. But I'm thinking we're going to pull another villain into a project and see what we can do with it. So stay tuned. I'll have more details on that later. If you ever have a specific stamp set that's on the website you'd like to see featured, really any product, always let me know. I'm always happy to show you a new sort of way that I would interpret a product that maybe you're just looking for a little jump start for your creativity. I'm always open to suggestions and ideas. But thank you all so very much for being here. You all were wonderful. Thank you, Bo, Christian. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you, Patsy. Thank you, Heidi. I know I saw Heather stop in for a little bit. If I am missing anybody, oh, Flower. I saw Flower. Thank you for stopping by. And if I missed anyone, I'm so sorry. You know that I love that you're all here, and my mind only works so quickly, and if I forget people, that's no slight to anyone specifically. Thank you all so very much for being here. I will work on a blog post, and I will get this uploaded to my YouTube channel and my blog and share it in the fan club later. It might not be by tomorrow. I have plans after work tomorrow, so if I can't get it done tonight, it probably won't be till Friday. But y'all know I'm good for it. It'll get there eventually, I promise. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Hump Day is almost over. That means that the weekend is right around the corner. And don't forget to stay crafty. Thank you so much, friends, and have a good night. Goodbye. You enjoy your dinner too, Christian, if you haven't had it already.